G'day gamers, Aussie Wargamer here in Moree, Australia. Welcome to my channel. It's another topic of the week response to me mate Vince over at Warhammer Weekly. Vincey boy wants to know what me thoughts are on the new Idoneth Deepkin book. I've had a good look over it and generally I'm pretty impressed. G-dubs have been putting together some great books lately and this one's a cracker. Here's me thoughts. My goodness, these guys have a pretty depressing history. Old Reckless Teclis certainly didn't do him any favours when he tried to restore the souls of Mathlan's followers after they were spewed up by Slaanesh. They were doomed from the start, I reckon. I found it interesting that there's been a lot of focus on souls in Age of Sigmar lately, and this book is no exception. The Idoneth have to capture souls in order to survive. I bet the great necromancer old Naggles himself is not going to be too happy about it all. I also really dug this sense of the unknown threat in the ocean that we get. Something that we see in our history too. You know, maps with "here there be monsters on them," that kind of thing. There's a sense of menace to the ocean, and playing on that with the Deepkin is a corker of an idea. I also like the idea of whirlways, which are like underwater realm gates connecting the realms together. It just adds to the magic of the realms, I reckon. Some of their magic is great too. I love it when music has magic in fiction, and the idea that Corylus can shape coral and shell through song appeals to me. It's pretty interesting that the Idoneth like to be alone, and as the tome says, need solitude, like surface dwellers need air. These guys are the realm's biggest introverts. Like, they'll happily steal your soul, but don't ask them to make a speech in public. They crave solitude so much that they make anyone who sees them forget about them. It's in a super cool way too. They get entranced by the sound of waves and chill pretty hard. In terms of rules, there's some cool stuff without being over the top, I think. The tide mechanic is fresh and interesting, and while none of the artifacts are mind-blowing, there's some interesting ones like Cloud of Midnight that allows the bearer once per battle in any phase to not be the target of attacks, spells or abilities, or Sands of Infinity that makes a spell last for 2 hero phases instead of 1. There's also an artifact that releases the manifestation of a Kraken, which is awesome. Likewise, there's some interesting spells like Pressure of the Deep, which is a nice way to snipe unit champions, banner bearers or musicians. There's a couple of different ways that allows allies to use the tide mechanic, meaning the idea of allying in some Sylvaneth for an ocean and earth theme is quite viable. They even have a War Scroll battalion that does just that. Each enclave has its own rules, like the Northalar that have access to a spell that worsens enemy rend. A couple of the War Scrolls really stood out, like the aspect of the Storm Eidolon that is absolutely nuts on the charge, and the Idoran Tidecaster that can reverse the tides of death. The Alapex and the Achelian Guard not only look fantastic, they're both great on the charge as well. And the Leviathan's crushing jaw attack is 2 and 2, -2 rend, and does d6 damage or 6 mortal wounds on a hit roll of 6 up. So there are my thoughts. It's totally an army I can see myself collecting at some point in the future. Anyway, that's all from me. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay tuned if you want to hear more of my voice. Catch us later.